So good evening, everyone. Am I audible? A thumbs up will do.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is going to be a little broader version of what we have done earlier. And we are going to speak about art integrated based assessment. Why I have chosen that topic? The topic I've chosen is because we are inclined only to one particular method of assessing children. So let us see how different this PPT is going to be for you all and how this session is going to help you all. I'm sure it's going to make some meaning to your teaching as well. So let us quickly go to the next slide. I'm sure most of you have muted. And in case you want to say something, you can unmute. Most welcome. So once again, good evening to all of you all. Hope you all are doing good. And let me quickly go to the next slide. Okay, well, I have termed as IBA. Let us call it as IBA, integrated based assessment. It's going to be a unique method of assessing children where we are going to assess them only through writing or only through oral. So let us see how best we can. Anybody's got something to say? Ma'am, am I audible? Anybody thumbs up with the holistic development and with their comprehensive understanding? Nirmala ma'am, you have something to say? So we are going to see the and understand how they have understood, because we always have a study the next slide to check what it is. Why do we need the IBA? Why we need IBA? That the need for it is you assess the children at a point their talent, because what happens is if you ask them quiz, if you conduct a quiz, it's going to be like they are prepared previous come back. So what I suggest is try this method of assessment range of understanding your students' talent. So tasks, give them different types of tasks. So let them not always attend a quiz. You can also assess them with different types of imaginative able to answer. What are the methods you can try to inculcate by asking them if they've how is it? These some of the activities are like to dramatize. You can sometimes it is good to have dance programs also conducted possible for all of us inside a classroom, but try to incorporate this to understand if your teaching has make it more interesting with art integrated assessments. Ask the children if they've understood I'm sure they will be very well giving you very good their understanding. It will be very nice to see how okay, art integrated assessments. It encourages children with their critical thinking, problem solving, because it is not going to be always ask your children to read or write. Sometimes we tell them take your textbook and start reading. It is not that always. Sometimes you need to ask them to think out of the box also. It is a very valuable skill where children try to have their ideas of different areas into their learning process. Okay, I will mute you, Mr. Ram. Now, what is the achievement? What are you going to achieve with this? What is your achievement through IBA? That is, you try to collaborate the assessment. You are not going to have your assessment focused only on writing. You're going to have different genres of assessment because all the children are not the same. We have assorted type of children. Some would be of a higher thinking level, some would be below that. So assessments through reading and writing may not achieve the goal. Okay, so what I suggest is make it more collaborative. And you know what? When you have a teamwork for your assessment, they try to come out with very good ideas. And when students are put together and you ask them to achieve a goal that you want from your concepts, it is very nice to see children communicate with each other. They communicate their ideas well. They work together. A teamwork happens. And then what is the final result skills and also prepares students for real life situation. When you have teamwork, when you have event through which you can assess your students, it becomes more enchanting for you. What is the importance? Why importance of that? The importance is you try to be away from your traditional assessments. What is the traditional assessments? I'm sure all of us have been doing. You have your writing part, you have your question bank, you have your question papers, you have your writing, reading, then you have your quiz. So that is your routine. Let us break the routine and come out of your traditional method, because nowadays children are more proactive. They don't want you to make them sit for hours together for your writing test. So art integrated assessments, you also consider the steps and efforts taken to reach that outcome. Because what we feel is our CODs, our HODs always say, have a question, have a blueprint, have your questions ready. But then what I suggest is you don't have to be focused only on your reading and writing part of your assessment. You can have them widened with your art integration. Let us see what are the methods you can follow. Because I've been talking about art integration, we need some methods as well. So what is this iBound? What does it provide? It leads to increased participation, because children of all types of thinking levels, they try to come together. They are not, it is like, they are not compressed with their ideas. It is, no, that child is going to do very well. He fares very well. And always he is 100% child. So I am going to have a complex and I'm going to stay back. I'm not going to go to the group. So you break that from within the classroom. You break that is, you know what, ice breaking session is assessment is a very good icebreaker, because assessments, everybody will join it. Everybody will join. It can be irrespective of whether a child is a first rank student or below average student, because a below average student might excel very well when it is art based assessments. Aishwarya ma'am, you have something to say? So it can lead to increased participation and a deeper understanding of the subject or the topic that you have taught. So I feel art integrated assessments also plays a key in your teaching. What is that all response? Art integrated assessment also has the potential to have more of inclusive children, because yesterday also in the newspaper there was something about art for inclusive education, and it also is culturally responsible. By incorporating different forms of art, it helps the students to feel more connected to their learning and see themselves reflected in the curriculum. And I'm sure participants, when you try different types of art based assessments, I'm sure you will wonder why this child has not scored at least 75% in his writing. But when you give them projects, they are excelling well. That is why we do have some number 20% or even 30% of the marks allocated for their projects, because projects also play a very vital role in your assessments. What is the first type of method that you can incorporate in your assessment based uh, art integrated assessment? I'm sorry, Sapna ma'am, I muted you. One of the most common method for using this art integrated assessment is students can create visual representation of a scientific concept. Like you give them a concept, maybe like, you have essays, you do essays in your literature. So maybe the child may not excel very well in doing a literature, in writing an essay. He or she could have problems in grammar, or he or she could have problems in his vocabulary, finding words to make an essay, to write an essay. But a visual representation, he might be a very good artist. So I feel always having a art based assessment would be a better choice for you if you feel I have to check on my teaching capacity. I want to know if my students have learned something from me in today's topic. So I feel you have to throw a choice to your children rather than always holding a pen and paper. Another method, this is the second method of assessment. Another method is you have your, as I told you earlier, you have your history, you have your English taught. What can be done? The first method was visual representation. The second method that you can do with history and literature, ask the children to perform a drama. Ask them to come prepared. You see, when you ask them to come prepared, give them the role of the art that you want from the children. Ask them to play a particular role. Then your student will be more inclined to read what it is. So you have a two-way method here. You have a two-way method to make your student read, motivate your student. The thing is, you give them a role and ask them to dramatize it. Naturally, your students are going to read the content. So you have excelled in making your child read the content from the books, understand it, and then perform. So what happens? Your students read the content, they try to understand it, they try to dramatize it, they use vocabulary. So I am sure art integration can play a vital role in your assessments. The third method, it is for your math. So what happens? When you give them, it is actually for problem solving. First of all, you have your day-to-day the problem solving issues. Your students might even think of what they faced in their day-to-day life. They might come out with so many ideas. Like you ask them to create something, they have their geometric art, you have your different types of geometrical shapes. So they use those shapes and they try to create your concepts, and they have their visual representation of the data and the statistics. So students apply their knowledge in creating art and then solving your math problems. So this would be your third method. Music. Of course, you all do have music in your classrooms, isn't it? So what happens, for instance, in your art, in your language classes, your students can compose poems. For your assessments, you can ask your children to compose poems, rap, or about a book. They need not read a book. I'm not telling you they have to read a book. They can browse the book content that you want them to do, and they can go forward with it by having their own words to create a poem or a rap, showcasing their understanding of the character and the plot. Okay. So whatever are the characters, whatever are the themes that you give, whatever is the topic that you give, they will be, you can ask them to create a poem or a rap. You can ask them to create music with whatever topics that you want them to learn. The fifth method that you can incorporate for art-based assessment is allow them to use technology, such as creating digital art and asking them to use multimedia tools. Of course, as we all are using multimedia tools, you can give the liberty to your students also to use technology and see how best they can do. So we are not cloned to reading and writing as traditional method. I am giving you inputs for different types of methods you can use for art integrated assessments. The sixth method, art based assessments, also allows you. Now, before going to the conclusion part, I want somebody to unmute and tell me how many of you have used this type of teaching method or assessments in your classroom. If anybody is interested, I would be glad to hear. And of course, the other co-participants also can use them because I have used very few of those. Anybody?
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I'm been teaching grade 11 and 12, and I teach psychology and sociology. So, because it's social sciences, so I think I have that that creative freedom to use all of multimedia and all of that when I'm doing a lot of assessments, especially when we have CCE pattern and CBSE. So it helps me to render to these type of assessment techniques. So I have been using a lot of them. But I would, of course, this definitely is helping me a lot.
Great, ma'am. Because I'm sure you will accept with me when I say you have children of different learning skills, isn't it? Some would be very good in their learning. The grasping power for children is not the same. I'm sure you all will agree with me. Anybody else who can unmute and tell me how well you have.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Vijaya, ma'am.
Yeah, I totally agree because I was using the tricks you are telling us, the same methodology I had used in my classroom, and the children were enjoying the lessons because they were doing the drama. For the chapters, I was just making my children so that they can play a drama for that story, and they enjoyed a lot, and they can remember whole life that chapter
Exactly.
itself.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and the for the poem also in Hindi I am taking, and it's just like the full poem, stanza by stanza. The whole group, I divided my classroom into the groups, and the group were participating, and they are means using their hand movements and everything, and they learned by itself. There is no need to mug up that poem also.
Exactly. Exactly. Agree. I
Yeah, that's the
thoroughly
thing.
agree with you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Anybody
that's
else
totally
who can?
agree.
Hello, ma'am.
Anybody?
Good evening.
Good evening,
Hello,
ma'am.
ma'am. Good evening. Yeah, I I have used this music. As you said, I was teaching in class 9. At that time, we had this beehive in class 9 and 10, beehive and moments and all those. In that, we had this poem. Uh, what is it? Somebody's talking.
I will mute, ma'am. Yes, I have muted
Yeah,
Sushma, ma'am. Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. Go
Thank you.
ahead.
Yeah, we had this poem on killing a tree, if you remember. That poem, I asked the children, one of them was very much interested in doing rap. And then the way those two, one boy and one girl, they have done, and the other children just followed them. They just enjoyed this poem, and they have learned it so well. They knew it by heart. It's not that they have to learn it by heart, but the way they have done it, they have learned it, and then they could understand bit by bit everything. Really enjoyed it very much. They
Too
did
good.
this rap of this song, of this poem. on Killing a Tree by Sunny.
Very good, very good. So it
Excellent it
is,
was.
yeah, you know what? It is not like, I am having a session here and you all are not doing, that's why I'm having. No, everybody is doing it. Only thing is, we don't know we are doing it. Because when I had the
Yeah.
review here, the reviews,
Yes, ma'am. It has been like we have done all these in our classes, and now it is like we have to do all these again. I mean, it's not again, we have to do this. Now, this is the method you have to follow.
yes,
That's it.
yes. So we
Madam,
have,
can you hear me?
okay, so I have a few methods here. Meeta ma'am, you have something to say?
Lalita madam, can you share the link?
Yes, sir. Yes, I will do that. Anybody else who wants to? Anybody else who wants to share their ideas?
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Kritika. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I would like to register this one. While teaching the fractions for grade 6, I incorporated that one along with the keynotes of guitar, actually, to find the greatest integer, I mean, the greatest fractions and
Yeah.
all those things. The keynotes of guitar was used, and I incorporated mathematics with music in that classes. And of course, when it comes to grade 8, the law of indices, we constructed a poem regarding that one. Even that was incorporated with music and taken in class.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Very nice. Anybody else, ma'am, who wants to share their ideas?
Madam, can you post the link?
Yes, sir. I will do it. I will do it shortly. I will do it. Anybody else who wants to say which method you used for art integration? Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. I have also asked them to make comic strips. They have drawn beautifully, the poem, the story. They have made small, I mean, cartoons of those, the whole story, the lesson. And that became easier, for them to understand as well as give in their inputs and it express their, the, the expressions of each and every character. It was easy for them to understand the lesson.
Yes, that not only that, what I feel is, ma'am, like, when you're giving chance for the children to speak or enact or do something out of the box, children are more enthusiastic rather than having a pen and a paper. I'm sure most of you will agree with me,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And all of them will participate in it. They will come out. Their hesitance will be, I mean, can be reduced in this way.
Yes,
They
because
get a
that
chance to
becomes,
come out of.
yes, that becomes like an ice-breaking session, and they're also like, they feel my teacher is not going to corner me by asking questions. My teacher is going to allow me to do it something creative with my understanding capacity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel that way it is better. And anybody else who wants to say something? Anybody else? No? Okay, so what I feel is all of us now, the NAP policy also says we have art integration into our teaching methods. So I will mute Saujanya ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you please share all the slides again? These method slides, please.
Yeah,
I'll take a screen. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll do. So one is the scientific method where you ask your children to do some drawings or sculptures. That was the first method. Shall I move, ma'am? The second one is coming to the art and the history or social studies that you would be dealing with, where you can give them characters and you can tell them what is the scenario and they are going to enact it. I'll go to the third one quickly because the Zoom meeting will get over, and I have put the link for you all. I think one of the participants asked me for the link. And for the math, you have the shape representation for your data and statistics. Then you have the music, as many of them told me, music has played a vital role in their classroom teaching. And then art-based, I told you all, as we all use technology, you give the freedom and the liberty to children also to use technology. They also explore a lot, of course, in a good way. And the sixth method, it is about multimedia, using different types of tools as we all use. And because you have paint also in the basic concept of paint in every computer. So starting from the basic, children will try to explore and they will come out with many more ideas of how to use technology and creating digital art forms. Ma'am, I'm sure you've
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let us go to the conclusion part where art-based, that is my, I have put it in a very simple term, AIBA, art integrated based assessment, is a tool for evaluating your students' learning, how much they have grasped, and what is your achievement in teaching them. What have you achieved by teaching the given topic for the day? It provides a holistic and well-rounded view of a student's ability and promotes critical thinking and the collaboration. Collaboration, how the children are getting into teamwork, how they try to get together and communicate, how the socializing happens. So the collaboration and create more of engaging learning through hands-on experiments. So I feel, I am sure most of you will vouch for art-based assessments, and education continues to evolve. I think we teachers also need to keep abreast about all the information of how to teach your children, how to teach in a classroom where you get your 100% result of teaching and doing justice. So incorporating art into the assessment process can help you prepare children for complex and ever-changing world, and they are not going to be always with books and papers, or they don't have to do rote learning. They can have different types of learning which will be easier for them to grasp. I'm sure most of you will agree with this, and anything you all feel free to talk. The last 5 minutes, let us have an interactive session, teachers, participants. You can unmute and discuss. All of us will take ideas from you all. Anybody? No ideas? Art-based assessments, and as I heard many of them talking about how productive their classrooms are and how active the children are in the class, I'm very happy to take the inputs from you all as well, because many of the participants, you've got brilliant ideas to keep your class engaged. So I have also taken a few inputs from you all. Anybody wants to share your ideas? Participants? No? Nobody wants to share? Okay, I'm sure I have made some meaning to your teaching, and I'm sure most of us will incorporate all these types of methodologies to get what your child has learned And if your child has not achieved the goal, the purpose of what you have taught, or if your child is still lagging behind in his learning outcome, what I feel is you can try to use different methods to put in your concepts into your students. It can be in different ways, of course, not by imposing anything, but it can be in different ways. And we all are well-versed teachers in molding children. I'm sure most of you will agree with this. Anybody wants to speak something? So hopefully, I'm sure this was a very meaningful session for you all. And I'm also excited to be with one among you all. And thanks a lot for your participation, teachers. And I request you all to put in your, fill in your forms, and if possible, have your phone numbers so that I can send your certificates through WhatsApp as well. Because some of you might miss out few letters or few your text where your mail ID doesn't work. So it bounces back. So I feel sending your phone numbers, of course, I'm not going to disturb you all in any way, but sending your phone numbers, it would be easy for you to get a certificate, even if your mail ID doesn't work. So with this, I say thank you to you all. I'm sure you all had a fruitful session. Hoping to see you all in the next session. Thank you and bye to all of you. Thank you, participants.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Very interesting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am, if we have to post the feedback form.
Yes, I have sent you the Google Forms, ma'am.
Acha, okay,
The
ma'am.
Google Forms are there.
Can you send it back, ma'am?
Yes, I will do it.
Please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I will again post the Google form.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Check it out. I hope you have received one.
Thank you, ma'am. I got it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye. See you all next time.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for enjoying my session. Thank you.
Ma'am,